Hi, everyone. I'm James Garbutt.
And I'm Denny Dumas.
And this is the Garbutt Dumas Real Estate Podcast.
Okay, I think this is going to be a really fun one. We had this idea to do a podcast of the memorable moments in our GD lives, in our real estate careers, in our partnership together, James and I. And in thinking about it a little bit last night and writing down a bunch of notes, a lot of the things that I wrote down or that were even coming to mind were like about the relationship and about the like mine and yours business relationship and the business growth and like the personal growth through this crazy real estate industry. It's funny that not many things that I wrote down were like deal specific or like a big sale. And I wrote down a couple things that were more like properly related, but it's funny that like in thinking about this memorable moment idea, a lot of what came to my head was like us and like who we are and like a more personal side of real estate that maybe consumers, and I'm sure other realtors will understand because they probably have gone through a lot of the same things in their career, but consumers probably wouldn't necessarily see this type of thought process or even some of the situations that we're probably going to bring up here.
We're lucky to be in a colorful career with a lot of unique experiences, you know. I don't know where this is going to go. So there's a few standout ones that from early in my career, but it's more standout just because it was such a different time. Yeah. It was like the fax machine time. Yeah. And also I was a 24-year-old when I first got into the business, and I was just a different human at that time too. And then when we partnered up, there was our early partnership moments. and yeah, we've hit a lot of new milestones since then.
It's funny to even go through that type of reflection process last night and just almost be overwhelmed with how different of a human being I am today than I was 7.5 years ago when I started. And like a couple of the things that I was thinking about was our first video marketing shoot. So we had this idea to do like a more professional production marketing video, and Jamie wrote a script for it. I don't know if you remember this, and he gave me like 2 lines, and this was, again, I was 24, 25 at this point, and I was not comfortable in front of a camera. It's a little different than it is today, and I remember you giving me 2 lines to say, and one of them was like, you know, we use technology to market, or like something so simple. And we probably took 8 takes of that stupid thing because I just could not remember this line. I was so like nervous and overwhelmed to be in front of a camera.
I think you're a prime example that you can like break through something that you're incredibly uncomfortable with and thrive at it. Like it was our first video together. I mean, if the line was 2 words, Denny would have taken a dozen shots at it. Like it was I remember you being so nervous about it and so out of your element, but you just were resilient. You just kept on going. And I think you had this drive that you wanted to overcome it. And I think that's a big difference. Because I mean, I don't know if they still exist. I might have pulled them. But if you go to my first videos in 2008, they're ridiculous. I was definitely a different human back then. And I was very uncomfortable at it. But the best way to do videos, and I think I got this from Ian Watt, is just do more, you know, get those bad ones up and bury them with good ones. Yeah. But sorry, I cut off your story. I want to hear more.
That was the first point. That was the first thing that came to mind last night, was that first video shoot for some reason.
And we partnered up, well, I guess we officially partnered up in 2015, but we were working together at the tail end of 2014. Is that correct?
I got licensed March 2014. Yeah. So yeah, 3/4 of 2014.
Now I went through photos of even 2017, and you look like a different human then. And I think it was like you went through a second puberty in 2017, because in 2018 it's like, oh, that looks like Denny today. In 2017 it looks like young Denny.
Teenage Denny.
Do you remember your first business card shoot?
Sure do. Man, I'll remember that, and I'll keep that photo on my phone forever. Yeah, like even just the photo of the 2 of us. I think you set up a tripod. We had like a white poster board paper to shine the sun into our face, which made it really hard to keep your eyes open. But we took like a photo of me and James, and we're both wearing like the same 1990s casino type suit.
They're loose. They're too big for us. I had ridiculous hair. We looked ridiculous.
You had the full Jesus image going. Hair down to your shoulders, long beard. Yeah, it was something.
I should mention all of my photo shoots in the first, I don't know, 5+ years, I took myself. I put the camera up on a tripod, and Denny witnessed it firsthand. But I think I bought a poster board that was white to get some reflection off the sky going in your face, and it was such a hokey setup.
Oh yeah,
but it was a great shot.
Ish. It worked. That was still a good looking business card. I still like that one.
What else you got here, Denny? What?
Then it kind of went into like team stuff and like growth together. So some really big milestones in terms of the business for us was, I know that when I came into the business in 2014, I don't know, like your busiest year was something around 70 transactions or something like that. So our original first goal was like, let's get to 100. I remember 2014 was a big learning curve for me, obviously. And then 2015, we were so close. I don't know if you remember. In 2015, we did 98 transactions.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Sold 98 properties. And at the end of the year, we're like, man, that's pretty good. It's more than we've ever done. And Denny's getting a lot better. He's learning the business. But we missed it by 2.
Yeah. You're right. I think leading, I think we went from 75 to 98, and then we broke through it the following year.
Yeah.
And that was the first year cracking 100 deals. And I think that's a milestone.
Huge
Milestone.
Yeah. And it's funny that we went from 98 sales to then the next year crack like well over 100, but cracking 100 million the next year. And to me, that was like a huge milestone that like coming into this business was almost unfathomable, or, I thought it was like a long way into the future to even be remotely close to that type of a number.
I don't know which year it was, but it was kind of the year where we were official partners. Maybe it was our first or second calendar year into it. And we did over 100 deals. But it was around May that I realized, how the realtors, in the realtor world, we have our medallion points, and back then, I think I cared a little more than I do today. But there's individual realtors and there's teams. And we were partners, so it was around May, and I phoned the real estate board and say, look, I'm registered as an individual, but I should probably be a team now because I have a partner, and we had one other new realtor that was working under our wing. And they said to me that if you do it now, you're going to lose all your points up until May. So I'm thinking in my head, okay, I'll be an individual realtor, and that's not right, or I'll be a team and maybe not get any bragging rights of being a President's Club or Medallion Club realtor. So I just thought, okay, let's just stay individual this year and we'll switch on time next year.
Yeah.
And that year, left the calendar year as the 1 ranked individual realtor on the MLS in terms of units sold, not dollar volume.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Denny. And I apologize for the one person that didn't make the Medallion Club that year because we were in it. But I can assure you that there are some other realtors that have fudged the individual status. But I feel bad for that one person that didn't make it. But it was really cool seeing the rank be 1 because that was the high. I mean, that's as high as you can get. And as a team, the highest ranking we've had as a team, I think, was last year, and that was number 7. Yeah. So to me, those were 2, in terms of performance and milestones that way. Those were, it was really cool to see those numbers.
Totally. One of the things I wrote down was really cool as a team now with, the 5 realtors on our team to break into the top 10. That was a really cool feeling last year.
And I think, I don't know where the cutoff is, but it feels like, some of the team members that just started a few years ago are performing like President's Club realtors. They're doing those kind of volumes, which I don't know what that cutoff is, but let's call it north of 50 deals. It's, I remember my early days, but I was kind of like a lone wolf, and this team dynamic is so much better. And just seeing them in year 3 or whatever of their career get in 1 year, you're getting 5 years of experience when you're doing that much volume.
I couldn't imagine going back in time and starting solo in this business. Like a lot of the stuff I wrote down are just these little stupid memories of us leaving. In 2016, we did all our multiple offer evenings together and they were extremely inefficient, but it was so fun. Like walking out of a sale that sometimes took 2 or 3 hours, and today they're much more efficient.
Presentations in person.
Yeah, with the seller sitting there and listening to the phone calls, and like the whole thing was strange and awkward, but we had some fantastic results. And after walking out of that house, the seller's pumped at a big sale price, and me and Jamie are just like fist pump and like, all right, we'll do it again tomorrow, kind of thing. And it was, man, it was just so much more fun doing it with you and like in this team environment than being a solo person. I couldn't imagine. This business would be so lonely as an individual.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. A lot of my memories go back, like they're a bit foggy, and I'm sure some of the details are I don't remember all the little details, but a lot of my early day memories, like I joined the business in 2008. The market, by the time I did my first deal, it was the summer of 2008. Like 3 months into my career, it took me 3 months to get a deal, and then it closed in like 5 or 6 months. So it was pretty light income for that first little bit, and then the market crashed, and I focused on buyers. But the first calendar year was 2009, and that was a big standout moment for me because it was the year that I found, like, I figured I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it in this business, because in 2009, I sold 52 places, and I was on my own. At that time, there was no DocuSign or electronic signatures. I was running around town every night to get signatures. I was using fax machines. I was making my own feature sheets. I was the administrator, the marketer, the realtor, and I was very inefficient because it was a new business. So I was just working like a dog every day. Regretfully, I missed some more social moments with friends that, one of my closest friends' bachelor parties at that time. I was just buried in work and couldn't escape it. So it took me a few years to kind of get my head out of the water, or until our partnership truly to get my head out of the water. But it was a very busy time. But that first calendar year of 2009, I was a runner-up Rookie of the Year. And in real estate, you have these Medallion Club awards, and they show the 5 top rookies, and my name blew up second. So I next to Stephen Gorey, and he won Rookie of the Year. He got a few more medallion points than I did. I think I did 10 new construction deals that aren't counted for MLS deals. Doesn't really matter. But at that time, I was the second best rookie, and that was rewarding. And I think that second best status fueled more hunger for more after that. Mm-hmm. But those early days, like, to give you a little my first listing appointment was a for sale by owner, and I didn't land it on the spot. And I left them with, you know what, if you find a buyer on your own, you give me a call and I'll come here and help you write the contract. And 2 weeks later, I got that phone call. They said, we have a buyer. I'm like, oh, geez. Right. So I go down there, help them write the contract. And unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, the buyer didn't remove subjects. So 2 weeks after that, I helped them write the contract. They phoned me and said, we want to list with you. And that was my first listing. I think it was my second deal, but it was a for sale by owner. And I gained their trust by offering them some value, by helping them write a contract. And I ended up getting the deal from it. And those were gritty deals back then. Like, I had so many embarrassing for sale by owner moments. I remember the first time I knocked on an expiry door, I took advice from, the wrong sources. You get these aggressive, traditional, old school realtor tactics. And one of them, I was like, got to get there early in the morning. You got to be first in the morning to get to that front door. So I'm like, okay, here we go. Show up at this door at like 8:15 or 8:30. Owner was pissed. He was absolutely pissed. He told me to F off. I'm like, okay, this is rough. I don't know if I can do this. I don't like that. I can take rejection, but early morning rejection, getting ready for work, stress. I felt that in his voice that day. And I thought, okay, these little pre-9 a.m. door knocks, not going to happen anymore. So I did one of those, got told to got told off pretty good. And then I kept my door knocking for afternoon after that. But I mean, the biggest thing that I look back at my first year is 24-year-old, uncertain about everything, didn't know who I was, didn't know my strategy, didn't know how to sell, tried everything, and had some incredibly embarrassing moments, but it definitely made me stronger for the rest of the career and today.
I don't know if you're the same, but I look back at those like crazy work nights. So like, I think 2015, 2016, 2017 were 3 crazy years for me where, especially in the spring, it was like waking up at 6:45, 7, and you're working till you have appointments till like 8:30. You're at home, quick dinner, and then I'm like paperwork, planning buyer tours, printing sheets for the buyer tours, driving around neighborhoods to look at properties so I knew where to park till like 2 a.m.
Switching cars with me so that
Switching
you have a
cars,
respectable
man.
car to drive around.
And I just remember so many nights sitting on the couch with my computer and like prepping paperwork and doing all this stuff for tomorrow, just with headphones on and just like in those moments being like, man, this is so cool. And it was like a crazy amount of work and it was so draining for those like couple years. But I look back and like, I wouldn't change any of it because like, I'm just so much more grateful now that I went through all those moments.
You need those tough ones. And I remember looking at your calendar and schedule some days and thinking, oh my. I mean, I definitely had that too, but it's a little bit foggier and deeper in my memory. But for you, Denny, like, I remember looking at multiple days where, well, you have, and this is at the time when buyer tours were happening, you'd have like three buyer tours in one night, but also like showings of listings and offer presentations. And I would look at it, I'm like, not how are you going to get it all done? Because you're forced to get it all done. There's no question you have to get it all done, but it's a schedule that seems impossible. And I've had days like this, but I distinctly remember because you came into a much busier time with me. I mean, you came in as a new realtor we were doing over 100 deals. And you had days that would be like weeks for other people. And I knew that there was no moment for error. I knew that there was going to be stuff that was like 3-4 buyer tours in a night, plus other showings and offer presentations simultaneously. It seems impossible to get done. You get it done messy sometimes, but it works out. I mean, I can't have specific moments, but I definitely have woken up and looked at my schedule and thought, how am I going to get through the day? How am I going to, how is this all going to work? And then you just go, and you have to do it.
I remember having conversations with you going through some of these times, and one of your things was you like to wake up early before the phone starts to ring to kind of get stuff done. And I was always, I don't know how long it's going to take me, so I have to do it at night because I don't have a time restriction. Whereas if I wake up at 5 and do it for 2 hours, if I need 3 hours, appointments start at 8:30 or 9, I don't have any time. So for me, it was always like after dinner, just on the computer on the couch till whatever time it took. 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, doesn't matter.
Oh, you were going late. I remember that a few times. Yeah. No, the early days, the inefficiencies, the buyer tours and juggling offer presentations while you're on a tour, that's part of the madness of our business. I think I mentioned to you, and this is not going to sound great, but it was the reality. For the first, I would say 8 years of my career, I was so busy, and particularly in the busy times, that once a month I would forget an important appointment. Once a month I would drop the ball. And every month it would be, whether it was whatever it was, I would forget or I would miss one important appointment once a month. And even then, looking back at how crazy it was, when you're that busy and that overwhelmed, like for me, it affected my memory. Like I couldn't remember things. I couldn't remember, like there was so much going on that if I was introduced to someone, their name would come in one ear, go out the other. And I would run into people that I had no clue where we met or interacted. I mean, I've seen that with, some other agents that do a lot of business. And in this business, you just meet a lot of people. So if you're a local and you have a presence in an area, people are going to recognize you, and you might, I mean, so many times I've pretended to know who they were, and I didn't. I even tried to groom my wife to if we ever met someone in public, introduce herself first. And she never would. And it would be the most awkward introduction. Well, she did sometimes, but it was, I mean, it's embarrassing not knowing someone that you want to know, but it really took kind of getting a little more balance, a little bit more of a slower paced work schedule, even though it's still effective. But like now I'm better with memory because I'm not as, but then when you're doing 3 buyer tours a night, juggling offers, trying to get business and making feature sheets for me and just doing it all, there was too much in the head to remember those little details.
It's so challenging when you think about how many people in this business you meet in a year. This year we're going to do 200 transactions. So there's 200 different clients. At showing those properties, you're meeting hundreds and hundreds of realtors. Showing those properties, you're meeting thousands of buyers through open houses, and especially in busy years where we used to have 60, 70, 80, 100 people come through an open house. When someone calls you that you haven't talked to in 5 or 6 years, it's so tough to like put the pieces together. And one of the things you taught me early in my career was Google Contacts, like your CRM is your best friend, and use that as a tool to put in as much information in as you can. Like names, spouses' names, addresses, pets, like to remember, because it sucks when you run into a past client and their name is escaping you.
Our contact system has a lot of fields for that. I mean, that was from history of knowing dogs' names, kids' names, spouse names, who was referred by them. And it was important for me and we bounced around a few different contact systems until we land on the one we are now. But the key thing for that contact system is when someone phones us, their contact needs to show up. And during those first 5-10 seconds of that phone call, you need to figure out who they are. and those notes need to be tied to that contact. We have that today. But if anyone is listening to this and remembers a moment where I didn't remember them, I apologize. I was a different human there. I'll try to remember better now.
Do you have a moment that you can look back on that made you believe that you were now really good at this business, at this realtor thing? Because I have 2.
Oh, geez. Let's go on yours and I'll put some thought into that.
Okay. I can't remember which one happened first. I think it was... So you had a friend from high school, built a really awesome custom home. We are trying to set a record in a neighborhood in New West. We have a ton of showings through the week. We priced it slightly high, I'd say, and we ended up with 3 offers when a lot of houses at the time were getting 10 to 15 offers. But we priced it high. We had 3 offers, and on offer presentation night, Jamie calls the client, who is his friend from high school, and says, Denny's on his way over. I'm not going to be there. Don't worry. Denny's better at me than this.
He does this more often. Yeah. He's better.
And I just remember like that night just being like, it was pretty cool for you to have that much trust in me with like a good friend from high school.
And a record price over $2 million. And were you in your 20s still?
Over 2.2. I remember the sale price. I remember the house.
That was a good one. Well. 2.285, if I remember it right.
2.225.
I'm going to look that up.
It was the record sale in that neighborhood for a long time.
2.225? I think there was an 8 there. Okay, we'll go with your number. It was your moment.
Then the other one was, I think, maybe later that year, early the next year, when you built 902 2nd Street. You were moving, wanted to sell it. You asked me to sell it.
You did a fantastic job.
Thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thank you for doing it. You know, it was a big sale price, and that was 902 2nd Street is where I used to live. You know, I was the general contractor of that home. I was an owner builder, and I did it to learn the ins and outs of what I didn't know, like the ins and outs of how to build a home and what I didn't know. And it was incredibly valuable experience. That's not a realtor moment. That's a real estate moment. But I couldn't do that again. I wouldn't wish it on anyone that doesn't have a passion for this business. I remember, Christmas, like being over there trying to fix insulation because we had an inspection coming up. And it was a very stressful time. But what I learned is all the inspections, when they happen, what they're looking for. I learned the costs of things, the process, that value. I did it because I knew that I wanted to be in this business for a long time, and whatever I would learn in that would last. If you have the energy in you and you have the funds and resources, do a big reno, build a house, get buried into it. If you're going to be in this business for a long time, that knowledge will stay with you for a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a big number that you sold it for. Was it like 1875?
You don't even remember.
I don't even remember.
It is ridiculous how well I remember sale prices. You could name an address from 3 years ago. I can't remember the client's name to save my life, and I'm really sorry about that. But I'll remember like every detail of the house and the sale price. It was 1985.
190. Oh, jeez, 190. That's a good number.
Yeah.
Yeah, 190.
That also was the record for Glenbrook North at the time.
And if you are a true realtor, it is perfectly normal to remember addresses and not names.
Do you have a memorable moment? Or a moment that made you feel like, man, I'm really good at this. Like this was a good decision for me to get into this business.
My moments were 12 years ago. It's hard to pinpoint one. I think I had multiple clients. Like, I guess I had what gave me I think a unique advantage or what helped me in this business was, I like people. I like keeping relationships going, maintaining relationship with people is important to me. So I think the clients that worked with me or work with me and especially early on, I was able to earn a lot of people's trust as a young agent because I would do things that weren't my best interest, or just maybe it was because of the way I communicated. But I think there's three things that stood out to me that I think over time I recognized as just I guess not. I don't want to say not normal, but like that are great qualities to have as a realtor. And those things were, one, valuing relationships with people and being authentic about that. People matter. I don't care how, I put the people before the sale all day long. Two, marketing. I took an interest in marketing early. I have a marketing degree from SFU, but I don't attribute that for any help in this business because that was the internet was new. No, and social media didn't really exist then. There was no Facebook when I took that marketing degree. But I took an interest in it, and I saw marketing as a way to stand out. I saw marketing as a way to build something that was beyond being on call as a realtor. So I was really adamant about learning getting my own custom website instead of a templated website. I wanted to own the hosting instead of putting it in someone else's control. I wanted to understand Facebook and use it effectively. I saw that as long-term. I saw a website as long-term, and it is long-term, and it's paid dividends since. So understand marketing and being able to tell a good story and know what a good photo looks like and know what the right content to put out there is. That was it still is an interest of mine, but it was definitely something that I was hungry to learn and master early. And then the third thing would be really wanting to understand what's behind the walls, what's in the structure. You don't need to know everything, but in a different life, I wanted to be an architect. I wanted to develop, and maybe there will be a day that I do more of that. But I'm truly interested in what's behind a 100-year-old home, what's behind a 50-year-old home, how homes are built, what's the difference of the wall assembly, the windows, the foundation, design, post-war bungalows versus, the Vancouver special. What's common in each thing? I would follow inspectors around. I obviously built a home. I did renos. I've owned an 1891 home, a 1938 home, a 1945 home, and built a few newer homes post-2000 as well. So truly wanting to know everything about building and structures that we're selling, that was a strong interest to me. And then I guess I said three things, but the fourth thing is being an MLS nerd, and there are many MLS nerds out there. And the best part about an MLS nerd is you're always on top of the prices. Mm-hmm. And I think that's some of the weaknesses I've seen in some newer agents is you can be an MLS nerd without even being a realtor. You can have a good tune on value without even being a realtor. And I found that there were some agents that I've crossed paths with that really didn't struggle to evaluate a property accurately. And knowing the market, knowing the sales, being on top of the inventory, that was part of my daily and weekly routine. So that's 4 things, not 3. Anyway, that was a long tangent.
That's all right. I'm glad that you brought up the customer service stuff, because I wanted to mention that too. In my previous life before real estate, worked in hospitality, and like it's drilled into you, like whatever it takes to make a customer happy. If they're unhappy with a drink, take it off their bill, whatever, make them happy. And James Garbutt takes that to a completely different level. And it was something that was like not necessarily like spoken of a ton, but it was just like a classic lead by example. And now it is just so drilled into me that like first instinct in any situation is, how do we make the client happy? What is best for them? And like the scenarios that I'm thinking of in my head are, how many times do we move that patio furniture around? So like a bunch of things. Patio furniture, we bought a couple sets of patio furniture that in our busy years, 2016, 17, we would just truck around to any new listing that we had that week and put it in their backyard because it looked better than, what if they had a nice patio to show off that photo for the patio,
it was
right?
The traveling patio set.
It was everywhere. It must have been in 100 yards at least.
You could be at 2 houses on a Thursday and a different house on a Friday.
Totally. It was like photo shoot day. We're moving this thing around. Even just like watching how you decided at the end of a transaction to hire a cleaner or to, fix a lock or like whatever it was, there was literally no hesitation in the cost of whatever these little extra things are to make a client happy. But it was just like, yep, no problem. We'll figure it out. We'll get it done. And then the other thing is like storing clients' furniture. We rented a garage for a couple of years. And as this patio furniture was moving around, if someone had some other stuff on their patio that they didn't have anywhere to go with it, Jamie would take it, put it in his truck, and then put it in the garage for the couple of weeks that they're on market and then deliver it back. It was, I don't know any other realtors in Greater Vancouver that do that kind of stuff.
Denny, I have 2,000 liters of homebrew wine in my basement right now. That's not mine. And we have a Jeep parked in our parking lot that I move from my house to this parking lot every few weeks. That's not mine. So still doing it.
2,000 liters of wine?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. It's 2,000. It's over 1,000. It's like there are these homebrew jugs, and I think I have 12 of them. So, yeah, it's about 2,000 liters. I think it's about maybe I'm off. No, I'm way off. It's not 2,000 liters. They're 20-liter jugs, and I have 12 of them. So 200. Off by 0.
We should wrap up. But now moving forward into like this team dynamic, in the last few years, we have been super, super lucky to find some fantastic people. It's really cool. You kind of touched on it, but maybe we end with this. It's really cool to watch them like flourish in this system that has, organically kind of come to fruition over the last handful of years. We didn't really know where we wanted this thing to go or how we were going to get there, but I think we had a lot of similarities in that we're just, we both go into any situation just thinking we'll figure it out.
We're in a memorable moment now. I think this could be the market of our career, the market of our lifetime. I mean, this is a crazy market, and we have incredible people doing big things. So the sales numbers that we're doing this year are new milestones that we've never achieved. And it's exciting. Mm-hmm. All I would say to agents listening is reflect on those moments. Write down your early struggles. I didn't write down enough of them, and so they're a little bit foggy. But those are some of the things that bring a smile to your face 20 years down the road when you look at the ridiculous things you did at the start of your career.